I was lacking in my life, and books that I read on Buddhism, or books that I read on um, any kind of mindfulness books that I've went through, DBT studies. There's somebody that needs to be muted, Ange?
Okay, Tracy. There we go. Got it.
Okay. And so I want to first say that I'm not ever coming from a point of psychiatry or psychology or doctorate or anything like that. I'm coming from experience, and that's what I go with is experience. I mean, yes, I've been to a lot of trainings. I've been to a lot of things. I've been to things with Eckhart Tolle. I've been to Landmark Forum. I've been read these books thoroughly. I've studied them thoroughly. I spent a lot of time practicing. I've worked with meditation teachers. Yes, all that stuff. But everything that I come to you is with experience. So whenever we get a controversial or any kind of topic that heats people up, I want people to know that this is just a conversation, and what we're doing here is a conversation. And I can tell you that I've lived life in two different forms. I've lived the life of a drug addict, and I've lived the life of somebody that's not. And as somebody living the life of somebody who's not a drug addict and doesn't turn to drugs to feel different, it's been a different ride ever since I got sober at 37. Because prior to that, my experiences were based upon the chemicals that I put in my body and the things that I did to feel different, and the external causes in my life and the external things that I had to get to know and that I sought out. I used to seek the external things to feel different, and I did it over and over and over. And whatever you had, I did it, and I can't wait to feel different. And I couldn't ever feel how I felt, and I was very good at it. I was very good at achieving feeling different in whatever form that you could do, whatever external thing you could do to do it. I did it, and then I spent the last 10 years of my life learning to experience life in a different way. And so I am not here to tell you the about our emotions as human beings, or about our brain functionality, or about neuroscience, or about even medicine when it pertains to addiction or anything like that. And I spend very little time speaking about that. I speak about my experience, and I've experienced these two really polar opposites way to live the world. And in the last 10 years, I've kind of cultivated an experience of being in my own body, in my own experience, and learning to really, really understand it. An in-depth, insightful examination into me and me, and how I got, and how I am now, and what the difference is. And I've spent 10 years thoroughly going through this because it was a big question for me. Why did I seek the external? Why did I do that so desperately in my life? That was an issue for me. That was one that I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out why I did not like to feel how I feel. I really sought that insight into that question. Why can't I sit with myself? And then I practiced sitting with myself, and I looked at everything that caused the inability to sit with myself. I looked thoroughly at it. And then what happened was, and when you look and you start to try to gain insight into why you can't sit with yourself, and you then come to this conclusion that you're doing it, that you're causing these same things that you're running from, that really what happened was I became addicted to anger. I became addicted to losing. I became addicted to frustration. I became addicted to disappointment. I became addicted to resentment. I became addicted to contempt. I became addicted to sadness. I became addicted to these experiences of anger when I could yell at people and get that out. I loved anger. Anger was one that I could get everything out. I was a person who, used to seek out fighting so that I could get beat up. I liked it. I liked getting beat up. I used to like it. And if I would go to a bar, I would find the biggest guy, and I would try to get punched by him, and it felt good. And I was addicted to hatred, and I was addicted to anger and contempt and gossip and all those kind of things that I found out, those experiences that I really loved. And that was just how it was. And I, at some point, all that fuel inside me began to feel just really, really like dirty fuel. And then I looked at, how can I experience life in a different way? And I didn't know that it was going to end up in cultivating this experience called love. And so I want to be clear that when I talk about love, I want to describe to you exactly what I mean. If I'm having for me personally, my opinion of what love is, is that it makes you cry, that you can't help it, that when you feel it, you can't help but tear up, and you can't hold back the tears. My feeling of love is that when we're having it, we're in full acceptance of the way the world is and the way the person is. And you can have this feeling with nature, with the sunset. You can have this feeling by yourself, with the world, and you can feel it, or you can have it with a human. And it's like when you see the internet thing, and it used to, if you're kids, so you're young, so you don't remember trying to get on the internet. You only had like 60% connection, and it was difficult to navigate through the internet with 60% connection. And then sometimes it would go down to 12% connection or something. Well, having love as an experience means that you're 100% connected to the world, that there's this experience that connects you 100%, that in your mind, at that moment, at that time of that brief time of that experience, there's this fully connected internet connection where you're fully accepting the current moment. You're fully accepting this other human being for exactly who they are right then. There is no judgment, and you're in awe. You're just in this place where it's you and them, and you're in awe of them. You're in love. And it says it in the brain. The brain kind of says to you, oh my God, this is it, love. And this is the experience I am talking about. And that's it. And I don't, for anyone that, I don't care, but for anyone that has a different opinion of what love is, that's fine. Describe it to me, what you mean. So if love isn't an experience, what is it? What could it be? And if you're not having the experience love, how are you experiencing love? How do we say, I love you, when that experience is never prevalent anymore? When that experience just does not show up? So my thing was like, wow, I learned a way to truly get high again in sobriety. And it's that. It's these brief times throughout the week, these brief times with human beings. You don't get them all the time. You get it very briefly. And if you're going to be honest, you might not get it for days. You might not think about it for days. Anger's way easier to come by. The experience of anger is way easier to come by. The experience of frustration is way easier to come by. The experience of disappointment or contempt or sadness, all easy to come by. But the experiences of joy and love, these are difficult. And to just hear people tell me that they have it when they don't, that they experience it when they're not, is like hearing people say, it's like seeing people eating the menu. What Werner Erhard said about it is, human beings eat the menu. If you are not experiencing eating a cheeseburger, but rather you're looking at the menu, getting ready to order a cheeseburger, you're not experiencing eating a cheeseburger. You're just looking at the menu. And people then just eat the menu, but they don't have the experience. So you're eating the menu. You're saying the idea of love, the concept of it, the kind of obligation to it, the commitment to it, but you're not saying that you're having the experience. And so I don't know about the argument or whatever. What I do know is in this house, that experience is cultivated, and it takes a lot of hard work for us to have it 3 times in a week. For us just to have a group where we all sit down together and find it for a moment. And the work and preparation and the individual work it takes to get there, to get to a place where we all don't have our phones, where we're all connected to each other, where we all feel at one with each other, and then the truth shows up and we all cry. This happens in this house. So I know it's possible. And that's the experience that we're speaking of. We're speaking of love as an experience. If you want to describe love to me, but you're not describing the experience, I really have a difficult time understanding what you're talking about. I do. What are you talking about? If love isn't an experience that we feel, know it when we're feeling it, cry about it when we're feeling it, if that's not true, that love isn't that, then what is it? Please tell me what it is. If eating a cheeseburger, the experience of it, the juice is running down your mouth, the taste of it, we can all describe eating a cheeseburger. We don't just say, I ate a cheeseburger when I didn't eat a cheeseburger. We don't. But we say, I love you when we don't experience loving you. We're experiencing hatred, disappointment, anger, resentment. All those experiences are prevalent. Judgment, conditions, and we're experiencing these things with each other. We're having a hard time with each other. We're remembering the past. We're worrying. Worry is an easy experience to have. How many times a day do you have that? And last week, what the point was ambition for that experience, motivated for love. How easy is it to find worry during your week? How easy is it to find frustration during your week? How easy is it to find righteousness throughout your week? How easy is it to get upset throughout your week? How easy are all these things to come by? But how difficult is love to come by? Really acknowledging that, really saying, yes, that experience you're talking about, I rarely ever have it. In fact, I can't remember last year. And getting a human being to admit that, I think is the start of the work. I think if they would just admit that, if they would just say, I haven't had that experience you're talking about, not with my family, not with my husband, not with my kids. If they would admit that they don't have that experience, they might then do the work to have that experience. Maybe. But to not admit it, to not even say, to just say, I love you, I don't know what that means. To not be able to look at somebody with love and connection and then say, I love you. And the reason I know this is true is because I said, I love you. From the time I was 18 to the time I was 8 to the time I was 37 on this planet, I said, I love you millions of times. I did not experience love, but maybe twice. I was too high. And when I experienced love, I don't know if I did, to be honest, that I experienced love. I can't really remember. I can tell you that maybe it was when I watched a movie and I cried and I experienced it through that. Maybe. And maybe it was because I was in treatment and I was connected to people finally again. But I did not experience this experience that I'm talking about right now. The one in this house, the one we have when we're talking to somebody and looking them at the eye and we can't help but cry. Because we're so connected and we feel so truthful with each other. And that's the experience I'm trying to get people to seek. That's the one I'm seeking, and that's what I'm very honest with you is the most difficult thing that I've sought out in my life. It's a harder drug to find than any drug you can find. Finding these moments throughout our week where we even have time to love each other. Where we even have time to turn the TV off and love each other. I experience anger a lot. I get that tons throughout the week. I had an intense experience of anger Monday night. Lost my shit. Easy to come by. Easy. But to just say that I already got it, there's no work for me, I don't need to get my own righteousness out of the way. I don't need to get my own contempt out of the way. I don't need to get my own judgment out of the way. I don't need to get my own fears out of the way. I don't need to get my own self out of the way, being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what defeated us, what made it impossible to love. We considered its common manifestations. What made it impossible, because this thing right here was so busy judging the other person, so busy fixated on how the other person needs to improve, how the other person needs to be different, how the other person must change so that we can be happy, so fixated on that I cannot possibly look at them with any sort of love. I can't. To just admit that, I can admit it. I have people on this planet that I can look at with love, and I have people that I can't. That I am so busy protecting myself around that I cannot possibly be open for the experience. But I can go around those people and easily find hatred, anger, contempt, righteousness. That's easily found. And so to just say as human beings that we just love, I don't believe in that. I believe that it takes an effort. I believe that it takes getting things out of the way. And not just on your guys' part because you're here in treatment trying to recover. I'm talking about all of us. Do you know how present you have to be to experience love? You cannot be on your phone. You cannot be looking at your phone. You'll miss it. You have to be, and it's not just the beginning of the conversation that you find it. It comes in like the middle somewhere or the ends. No, it comes in the middle. You'll usually find love in the middle of an intense conversation. It'll be in the middle. And then you'll experience it with someone and you won't just end the conversation there with love. You can't even take it. You won't even end the conversation with love because the experience will be so intense that you have to start telling jokes afterwards. And you have to make it lighthearted because you're kind of almost embarrassed of what you two just experienced. You're kind of embarrassed about it. So you pat each other on the back and go, hey, that was great. This is the experience we're talking about. We're not talking about just eating the menu, saying, hey, I love you. By the way, haven't felt the experience of love with you in 10 years, but I love you. Haven't connected like that where we're both present, not years, but I'm going to just say, I love you. Been judging you every time, both kids and parents. Kids come here judging how their parents parented them. What gives you the right? Where's your kid? Where's you doing it perfect? What gives you the right to come here and judge how your parents did it? Where's your kid? How did you do it? What are you doing right now? Same thing. So being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. What it says is, this thing does not want love. This voice in my head does not want love. It wants to judge you. It wants to figure out why you're different than me. It does not want to connect with you. It wants to make sure that I'm protected, and it wants to watch out for you. And it does it through judgment and righteousness. And it's difficult stuff to get this thing that's in our head protecting us called the self, getting it out of the way so we as a soul can look at another soul and see them for who they are, and we are who we are. Instead, we got to get these images out of the way. We got to get these fronts out of the way. We got to get these roles out of the way. You know, when you're in love, you can't be mom loving kid or kid loving mom. You got to be soul to soul, present. Because our parents can't love us because they got to tell us what to do. They don't have time. Every time we got to get around them, my mom got to tell me what I got to do better. My father got to tell me what I got to do better. There wasn't no time for love. He had to tell me about savings account and bank accounts and why I didn't do this and how come I got to do that. We didn't have time to connect. There was business. He had to be dad and he had to be a better one, and I had to be son and I had to be a better one. So we didn't really have time for each other when it pertained to like connecting on a love level. We were in the business of father and son. That's my experience. So I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just giving you my experience. My experience is I seek out this thing called love, this experience called love, and it comes through, it happens, and it seems to be happening more prevalent as I get calmer. It seems to be more prevalent as I sit still. It seems to be more prevalent the more truthful I get. It seems to be more prevalent when I see people in a different way. It seems to be more prevalent when I get rid of my own complaints. It seems to be more prevalent when I quit being righteous. It seems to be more prevalent when I breathe deeper, when I calm my blood pressure. You know, the experience love never happens at a fast heart rate. It only happens when our heart rate's slow. So if you know the experience of love only happens when your heart rate is beating at a calm beat, then guess what? You have to be responsible for your heart rate. You have to be responsible, because when our heart rate's slow, we feel safe. And the experience love only comes when there's safety. We can't love that. We can't have that experience when we think danger's around, because we then protect ourselves. So I'm talking about the experience of eating a cheeseburger, the experience of love, just like the experience of eating a cheeseburger. I'm not talking about the menu. You can look at the menu all you want and tell me about it. Tell me how it's a pretty picture. Tell me how it's good, looks good. Tell me what it costs. Tell me where I find it. Tell me what restaurant to go to. That's the menu. That's not the experience we're speaking about. I will argue and tell you, if you didn't cry last week, you also didn't love. You didn't experience it. When you looked at that baby for the first time and picked that up, I bet tears came in your eyes. For sure. You can't believe it. The gratitude that shows up when love shows up. Same thing. The acceptance that's there of that other human or that sunset or that tree. Full 100% connection, acceptance. I'm talking about recreating that, cultivating that, because I say it's the only thing that'll get any of you high again. And y'all want to get high again, but you can't do drugs. It's the only thing that gets us that hit, that gets us to next week. Because you don't get it. You get a hit, and that hit's got to last till your next hit. And the rest of the time is just all nonsense. It's all nonsense because you're just trying to get a house so somebody comes over so you can connect like that. But what is it going to be if you just get the house and then nobody comes over? If you don't get to recreate this experience in your own life. I cry a lot now. I don't cry because I'm a victim. I cry because I'm grateful. I cry because I see things that are freaking gorgeous. I see you guys. I see these kids. I see them creating in their life. I see them coming from drug addiction and anger and guilt and resentment and righteousness, and they can't sit still, and now they sit for an hour and make something beautiful, and it makes me cry. I cry because I see that. I cry all the time, not because I'm a victim, not because I'm sad, because I'm grateful. I'm grateful to get to sit here and watch this shit. Really. I'm grateful to see people that struggled in life smiling and being happy. And it's the experience of love that comes up. And I can't help it. I can't hold back the tears. So that's what I mean by with saying that we just love. It negates the work. If I just say I love you, well, good, there's no work to do. But I say there's work to do. That two people in a relationship that just say I love you, they're obliged. They're obliged to do the shit that would look like you would do if you loved somebody. Of course I'll go to the opera. I love you. Of course I'll buy you flowers on Valentine's Day. I love you. Of course, I got to do that. Of course I'll take care of your sick. I love you. I got to do that shit. Of course, I love you. But that ain't it. That ain't the experience. That's the menu. That's what one would do if you were going to buy a cheeseburger. Yeah, they would go to the thing and do that, all that bullshit, an obligation. I'm talking about 4 people in a family that can't stop, like, really connecting with each other. Every time they see each other, they sit still, look each other in the eye, be present, wait for it, let each other know they're safe, have that connection and cry about it. That's got to be what we're doing here. It has to be. If it isn't, what are we doing? What is connecting the family, the addict, and the community if this isn't it? What's the solution? You want another hit. I'm telling you what a hit is. I'm telling you the drug that you've been after the whole time. This is it. They say it's the answer. Of course it is. We just don't believe it. And we just say we have it already. So once we say we have it already, well, shit, there's nothing to do then. All right. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, really, I mean, it's not a thing. If you have that experience every day of your life and you're having it in the last year with your loved one, well, come and show me how you do it. Show me what you've been up to. Because I don't see it happening. I see people eating the menu. I love you, therefore I have to do this. I love you, therefore it's Valentine's Day, and here I am in the line at the Safeway at 9 a.m. buying these flowers for someone. Why are you there at the Safeway? Well, I love her. What the hell does that mean? That ain't it. I can tell you I've experienced it all, all sides of this thing. And I can honestly admit to everyone here that I didn't experience love until I was 41 years old. I experienced it from the time I was 0 till the time I was like 6 or 7 or 8. And then I didn't experience it again until I was 43. That's the truth. But from the time I was 8 to the time I was 43, I said I love you to hundreds and hundreds of people. Anyways, we can take questions.
This is so good. This is so good. And I have to say, mom's group last week, I hope that some of the moms from group last week will step up and share. Hopefully this conversation is full here. We've got lots of time, and last week was such an incredible group and people were sharing. So I hope it's still the case. Something I just wrote down that you said, Art, and I loved it so much, I put all kinds of stars around it, is I just heard this for the first time. You've probably said it, but I just really heard it for the first time, is that love is only available soul to soul. So when I'm being that role of mom, when I was the role of mom to Devin, full of fear, being the role, like being the how I am, not the who I am. So when it wasn't available. So when we're in our roles of being that parent, It's not even available there. Love is only available soul to soul.
Yeah, I believe there's too much. I believe in our roles. That's a working role. The role is a job. The role is a working role, and the role has duties. And so the duties of a mom are to improve the life of the child, and not generally just accept them the way they are. You would almost be negligent of duty. You would be not doing your job. You would be you know, neglecting. If you just allowed for what you have to allow for to get to that experience. And wow, the difficulty it must be to get free of judgment out of that role. Because your job is to judge.
Yeah. And what do we look like? What do we look like? Yeah. Yeah. You know, everybody, whether you're a mom's group or not, I really invite you to step up and be part of this conversation. If there's any confusion whatsoever, if you're left with any feelings of what is he talking about, you know, some of the really good stuff, Concha last week, and so many people, Julie and Kathy, and so many people. And then Sherry, you're first, Sherry. Let's get you unmuted. So many people came to the table to really share. And I think that we kind of hit over the ledge of understanding. So like there was some confusion last week, but just with some more talking it through, it really sent people over the edge of really actually getting. I know this topic has been really tough for me and awkward and uncomfortable for many years. I feel really comfortable with it now. But if you're feeling weird, please, let's talk about it. Sherry, can we, or did that not work? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So I'm curious. It was really interesting. Moms have, I think, very different reactions to, you know, the concept and to the terminology and things like that. I'm curious about how dads might have a reaction. Did dads react similarly, or do they have a strong reaction to that role? And then maybe the younger people who don't have kids, like the basement crew, right? How do they react to some of these concepts?
Yeah.
If you're talking about the basement crew, I think they dig it, right? They understand it, they dig it, they're all about it, and they know exactly what I mean by you know, the reality of full connection to people and full connection to the world really shows up for us the first time we do heroin or meth or any drug, our drug of choice. I mean, that's what we feel when we say we're getting high, is that we're feeling love and we're connected and we're feeling this gratitude for the current moment and this amazement for it. And this feeling of euphoria that comes over, and that now is they're trying now to replicate that experience in their life, trying to replicate that feeling of freedom and connection and no judgment, and they get it because they're trying to replicate that. Cam asked me if you could have the experience of love without the crying, and of course for me it just, you know, that it's a different experience. The one where I watch you guys and you guys are doing something that's amazing for me, or you're creating, it makes me cry because I'm grateful to see it, and probably because, you know, it's partially under the supervision of this program that it makes me proud and it makes me cry. But you know, sometimes if you're experiencing love intimately with somebody else, you know, you'd be kind of awkward if you started crying in the bedroom or something like that. So it's a little different in all kinds of cases, but you know, you probably get booted out of the bedroom if you're making love and you start bawling. So you know, yeah, of course it happens in different forms, but there still is this one thing is predominantly always going to be true. There's 100% presence. There's no outside world at the moment you experience that. There's you and that thing that you're in love with, and there's nothing else. There's nobody watching. There's nobody looking. There's no time. There's no future. There's no past. There's just 100% full connection to that moment. And, that's got to be true. And it always feels safe. It always feels like you're protected by like a force field. Nothing is coming right now, so that's always true in this experience. But yeah, I don't know about dads. They would have to, like I said, I feel awkward enough talking about it myself. So, to really get other people to talk about it, it's tough.
Yeah, so if there's any dads out there that have anything to say, so there's the raise your hand feature or wave your hands if you want to speak and share. Yeah, I said, so I also wrote down, we can't experience love when there's danger and we're scared. Well, we can't enjoy a cheeseburger when there's danger either. Same. No. Same. Kristen, go ahead.
I really liked when you said doesn't necessarily have to be another person. It can be the sun, it can be a tree, it can be a flower, whatever. I related to that too, because nature does really get to me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a person.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's just connection with the world. Mm-hmm. There's gratitude there. There's that moment. There's that. And I think that we all are striving for this, but I think that not enough people admit that that's the goal. I mean, that's when this sentence really comes into play, when you say it defeated us. It didn't defeat us financially. The self doesn't defeat us financially. It doesn't defeat us socially. It doesn't defeat us in business. It doesn't defeat us in the boardroom. Self defeats us by making us disconnected. It makes us unavailable. It blocks the sun from shining in. It protects us because it's doing its job. The self, the ego, it's there to do its job. It's there to protect us, but it's overworking itself. And now it's gone haywire, and it's protecting us so much that the sun can't get in, that love can't come in, because we're too busy worrying about what we look like and what people think about us and what people did to us and what other people are doing to us and what we look like as parents and what we look like as treatment center owners and what we look like as whatever, ex-boyfriends, and what we look like as Facebook. What does our Facebook look like? We're hypersensitive, and that's in the way of love. So it's defeating us. So that's it. And it's work to get it out of the way. Massive amounts of work. Brian.
Mark, can you just tell me if I'm wrong?
Louder.
Can you tell me if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
I feel like the only time I've ever experienced love is like seeing a picture of me and my grandma, or my dog jumping up and giving me a hug. That's like like I can't help but like smile. But with my grandma, I feel like I can actually produce tears with that, like genuine, like just a warm feeling of tears. And if I don't know if that's love or not. I don't know, to be honest.
Well, I mean, you know it is, or it isn't. When you have that experience, the experience I'm talking about. And yeah, if you look at a picture of you and your grandma and you're in full acceptance of that, and yes, right? And we can experience love through sadness. We can experience it through that. There is that appreciation of sadness and causing the same kind of gratitude for it. It is there. Were you going to ask a question, Bobby?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to make a comment on, I don't know her name, but she was asking like what we thought of that concept. And that concept has changed my life. I get emotional talking about this. My mom's my best friend. And I spent a lot of time, especially when I was using, would look at my mom. We spent a lot of time together, and I saw the worry on her face, and I tried to ignore it. I always knew it was there, and I got to spend time with her today, and like you're in love with the moment when you look over at your mom and she's smiling and no one's talking, and you just know that she's not looking at the character that I was playing for a long time. She's actually looking back at her son for the first time, and I'm in love with that moment because I was totally present. I used to think that I had to buy my mom things, or we had to be doing something to, bring significance to the time that we spent together. And I can tell you that just being on I-405 North with my mom today, coming back to this house and seeing this smile, like that's my favorite place. It's not Mexico, it's not Hawaii. It's on the other side of my mom's smile when she's looking at me. That's my favorite place. And the concept of what love is and the experience of love it's changed my life, and it's changed my mom's life because I'm able to be present, and we don't have to be doing anything. We can just be in the car, and I can see the way that she's looking at me, and I just want her to be happy. She just wants me to be happy, and we can just sit there in total silence and total acceptance and in total presence. And I don't know if there's anything more to life for me than just being in that moment. And I spend I get out of my chores just to go spend time with my mom,
we know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, because she spent the last 12 years. I saw the worry, and I saw the actual fear on her face, and I would ignore it. We wouldn't talk about it. And now I give her a hug, I give her a kiss, and I tell her I love her, and I mean it, because I'm feeling that I'm in love with that moment, and I love her. And that idea, that concept, if you don't think it resonates with people that don't have children, or people that are, younger, it does. I can tell you firsthand it does. And it's changed my life, and it's changed my mom's life, and it's changed our relationship for the better, because I don't base our love on significance or external. Oh, there's my mom. And external things. I base it on the quality of time and the value that we get to spend together. And I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm good. That's it.
Thank you, Bobby. I want to point out something, and we had Bobby here before, and we've had. It doesn't matter, and we saw where Bobby was, and we saw the role he was playing when he was here, and what he means by changing his life, I think, is that he kind of made it a point in his life to be present. He kind of made that a priority. And in order to be in love with someone, you can't, and to have that connection, that experience, both people have to be present. There has to be both souls present. The souls have to be present. And that's what I mean by it takes work. It takes work to get calm enough, to slow down enough, to stop worrying about the image of our life, to stop worrying about what it looks like, and actually slow down long enough to just be with it, to just be there, not with what it looks like, not with what it's going to be, not with what it was, not with what it could be, but just what it is. This is what it is. And at this moment, this is what it is. And then we see each other. And I think that, that moment is what we're all seeking. We shy away from it. We don't admit it. We say we want other things, cars and houses and jobs, and we want different things, but we never admit that we want this. And you can see, as Bobby's talking, I hope you guys understand that everyone else here is crying too. And we just cultivated that experience right here called love in this room tonight. And we got to have it. And we got a hit tonight. And that hit is going to last us until our next hit. And that's what it is. We're addicts. It's finally about time we made the goal the proper drug. this one.
All right, we've got our next. Hey, Wendy and Ken. Hey, guys.
Hi. Yeah, so Art, I have a question, because when you're talking about experiencing love, you kind of can't do it by yourself. You kind of have to have that other person at that moment with you, right? So how do you, if you're present, but you just can't seem to get the other person present?
Yeah.
How do you create the environment so that it's there, so that you can actually get to that point?
Okay, that is a great question, and I will tell you that this program, I remember they said this to me in the forum when I did the forum, and I kind of adopted it for us too, because it works the same kind of way. And there's stages to what, when you get involved in this work, there's stages to it. And the first stage of this work is that it's very interesting. People say, this art guy, what he's talking about, he's very interesting, and it's good concepts, and I like what he's teaching, and this stuff's good. The second stage of this stuff is, this guy's very interesting. He's very good. My loved one really needs this. So step 2 is my loved one really, really needs to hear this message. That's always the second step. I can't wait to get my loved one to this message. Step 3 is that I might possibly need this for myself, that I might need this message. Then once somebody grabs onto the fact that they need this, that they have to do this work, then the 4th step can appear. And the 4th kind of stage of this thing is that because I've done this work, nobody really needs this message. And once you've done the work, you're going to see why. And truly to actually do the work of considering yourselves common manifestations on a daily basis, considering the in-depth gain into insight about what's in the way of your love, the responsibility of it being on me to get to this experience, only me. And then therefore, because it's only me, I'm now responsible for my getting rid of myself so that I can be available for it and I can create it. Because you will create it on your own. You will create it with the people around you. When these kids all show up here, there's no work to do for me. That experience is cultivated right here where they're at. And it's because, but it used to not be. And the reason it wasn't, because I used to be a treatment provider. So there was no possible way, if you brought me your kid and he wasn't doing good, in the role of treatment provider, when could I love your kid? Only when he's doing good. You see? So as that role, I had to see myself in that role. I could not love the kids in my program unless they were doing precisely everything that I wanted them to do. And they were behaving in a way that I needed them to behave. And if they weren't behaving in that way, there was extreme judgment on my part. Extreme conditions, extreme violent, like opposition to the way they're behaving. But doing this true work, really looking at my judgment, really seeking understanding of this other human being and what road they took to come into this collision of people that we have here in this house, what road they came on, then meeting them where they're at, right where they're at, and then trying to create that thing with them, that connection. It's just brief. All I need is like a second. Just look at me. I'm here. I just need you to be here. So now it's just a second. It's not like a long thing. It's like, dude, let me just find you in there for 1 second. And now we're in love. And now I can do it. But I used to be so busy worried what you guys were thinking of me, how you guys thought I was doing with your kid, how everybody in the world thought I was doing, how I was going to make my way as a treatment provider. I was so worried that more people were going to pay for my services or not, that I was extremely attached to how well the person was doing or not. And if they weren't doing well, I could not love them. I hated them. That's the truth. I hate you because you brought drugs here. I hate you because you relapsed. I hate you and I'm angry with you and I resent you because you didn't do the dishes. You didn't make your bed. I can't stand you. You don't get up on time. Ugh, man. And there's no love there. But through doing this work, it got me out of the way. It got my role out of the way in it. And when the role's out of the way, their progress has anything to do with me. Nothing. I mean, it's not going to change. It's not. So all I need is 100% connection. And all I got to do is be available enough to catch when they're open. And that it helps. It helps if both people are doing the work. It does speed it along, but it doesn't have to be that way. You as a leader can actually cultivate this experience with the other people in your life. It has to be true because we're cultivating it here. So I think that, that's the whole kicker to this thing is that, and that's the, Tanner actually corrected me last week because I was saying employ people, and that means I was giving them a job. What I meant was implore people to do this work. And so Wendy, your son, so graciously brought me upstairs and corrected me after a group and told me how stupid I was. So I got to spend the night worrying that I sounded stupid, but now it's okay. I got over that. So like I said, when you really dig into this thing, that what you're doing is you're really trying to get something out of the way, and it's really your head. Your head is in the way of love and your judgment. That's the thing, is that we can either be in judgment or in love, but we can't be both. You can have the experience of judging someone, or you can have the experience of loving someone, but you can't have both, not at the same time. And that's what happens, is that we get around people that aren't doing very well, and our mind is fixated on the judging them. Every move they make, everything they do, every mistake, everything we do, and we get fixated on judging them because we want them to improve so desperately because they annoy us or they frustrate us or whatever it is. And, and I had to get rid of I had to look into why people annoyed me, why they frustrated me, why. So it takes work. And that's this work is saying, hey, I'm not having this experience. It's that admitting and saying, I'm not having this experience that you're talking about in my life. And I own that. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It has to do with myself manifesting and judging the other person. You see? Okay, thank you.
Those were some beautiful smiles, by the way. All right, Tracy, let's get you up here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Wendy and Ken. And then we have a text question that we'll do after Tracy. Let's get you unmuted, Tracy. All right. Hey, Tracy.
Hi. Hey, I just wanted to say, the husband and wife that were on here just a second ago, and he was saying, how do you get the other person there? You can't. You got to get out of your own way. And I'll use Bobby and I as a prime example. And Angie heard this and Art heard this. And I left Bobby in a parking lot because he was so out of it and I could not deal with it because he was screaming at me because he was high and he was making no sense. And the next morning I had a phone call from Angie saying, hey, Tracy, I need you to call me. And I get Art calling me. And then I get Bobby screaming, I'm not going with Art. So we sat in the car and I said, you have one choice. You go with Art or you go back to the street. Because I finally hit that place of I can't get through to my own son. And I was watching him die and I could not take it anymore. And Angie's heard me cry and over. And in this last month, just the difference in his behavior and the excitement about being at the house and the things that they're doing. Last November, that was not Bobby. You didn't get to see my son. This person that you're seeing today is my son. And what he's talking about driving in the car, yeah, for the first time, I'm not full of anxiety and fear that he's going to walk off and it's going to be over. I'm going to get the phone call that he's dead. And I have lived with that fear intensely for the last 2 years. And just to see him grow and to care about others. And he still gets angry. I hear about it, but he's trying and he's being present. And for me, that's everything, because I know that he's finally finding Bobby again. If that makes any sense.
I'm going to comment. Go ahead. We'll go ahead to the next one, and then I'm going to wrap that up, and maybe
Perfect.
Tracy won't like what I have to say, but I apologize ahead of time.
You mean I'm going to want to fight you, Art?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question was, let me find it again. It was, so is he saying that there is a difference between love and unconditional love?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not going to, on unconditional love, I'm just going to give my total opinion. And that's just an opinion. And it doesn't, I very rarely, I don't even want to listen for that. I, in my life, I will just say this, not even my opinion. In my experience, it doesn't exist. That's in my experience. It exists as a concept, an unconditional commitment, an undying commitment, I would never leave my kid commitment. I would never leave, for me, I would never leave my sisters. That's how I'll say it. I don't have kids. So I have two sisters, and what it means to unconditionally love them is that I am constantly going to be there for them no matter what. Does that have anything to do with me and my sisters cultivating this experience called love? No. That's a totally different subject. So I think if somebody tells me that they experience love all day, every day, unconditionally, I don't even know what that means. There's a concept there somewhere, that there's an idea of what it means, and it sounds really good to say. It does. It sounds great, and it must be very difficult to, I'm talking about, so I want to not even be in that unconditional thing or not. I probably, it was good because it draws stuff up last week, and it kicked up the dirt, but I have actually, I shouldn't even say I have an opinion. I just don't even know. I don't even know. I am simply talking about the experience of getting high on love, the experience of connecting with humans and nature and being fully present, fully connected. And that's why I want to comment on what Tracy said. But I don't believe that. I don't, and I'm sorry, like I don't believe that parents can't, that people, and I don't know if it's parents of addict. Sometimes we get too close to an addict that we are in constant fear and constant judgment, that it would be very, very, almost ultimately impossible to create this experience with a loved one that's an addict, no matter how much work you did. You just wouldn't be able to do it. But I will say that since day one of Bobby being here, and these guys being here, I have been able to love them. Experience that with each and every person that's here. Every single person in this room right now, I've experienced the connection of love with. And so I say through a leadership role, not a treatment provider role or a soul role, somebody that you do the work of not being contingent upon their behavior. You can love them where they're at before they do the work. Before they do the work. It has to be, because we as people that are helping are required to love them before they do the work. If we didn't, it wouldn't initiate the work. It wouldn't work. If they didn't feel the love from us, from me and Shelly and everyone else that's here, if they didn't feel it, if they didn't feel the love from Ange, if they didn't feel that love, they would leave. They would say, this ain't the place. They would call you guys and have you come pick them up. But they feel loved, accepted, connected to. So they stay. So it is not dependent upon the other person. It is saying each one of us have a self, a voice in our head, a protector, some equipment that we've been granted that protects us from other people. And it manifests every day through complaints, through righteousness, through worry, through panic. And I am suggesting that that is in the way of love for you. This has nothing to do with anybody else in your life. If I'm speaking right now to anyone, I'm speaking to everyone. You have it in a way that you have something inside of you that would rather be right than be in love. It would rather figure out why the other person's wrong than love them. You have that. You have something inside of you, some voice in your head that is in constant judgment, because judgment is the way we protect ourselves from the bad people. It figures out the differences between you and people rather than the similarities. It spends all its time looking and judging people and pointing out the differences. How much time does the voice in your head say, try to love them today? How much time does the voice in your head say, hey, they're wrong, they're right, I'm wrong? How much time does the voice in your head really spend saying, you know what, today I want to find a connection with somebody? Or does it spend more time going, I need to text that person and tell them how stupid they are?
Yeah.
I need to meet with this person and we're going to get down to the bottom of how stupid they are. Because I didn't think I said it right yesterday. Yesterday we met and I was trying to convince them of how dumb they were, but I must not have got my point across, because by the end of the conversation, they were telling me I'm dumb. And so today we're going to meet and I'm going to say all the shit that I forgot to say yesterday, and I'm going to say it in a better way.
Right.
That's what's going on in our head. That was what was going on in my head. I can admit it.
I see all the smiles. The smiles is admittance. I see all the smiles.
I don't want to tell people why they're right and they're perfect where they're at.
It's
You
horrible.
know, we have a big thing that comes after I love you too. But it's this shitty little way we tell people what's wrong with themselves. But we're too goddamn even scared to say the truth. I want you to know how much I love you. But here's why you're wrong and I'm right. Here's how you need to change so that I can actually love you. That's the statement. Why would you say I love you? But that is every day, all day. I love my job, but I love my boss, but I love my kid, but. And then people go, I love my dog. There's no but after it. They just go, I love my dog. Why? Because they're not expecting their dog to improve. They're actually taking responsibility for it. If they want their dog to improve, they improve as an owner. They know their responsibility in life. If they came home and their dog all of a sudden improved and they didn't do anything, they would think aliens went into their dog. That's how people are too. People don't improve around us until we improve. They won't. They want to see us improving to even walk on the path with us. So you can, in fact, if you begin to do this work, you begin to see what's in the way, your judgment, your righteousness, your complaints, your anger, your contempt, your victimization, how you play the victim, your disturbances, your upsets, your insecurities. You get rid of all that, you're going to be available and you can lead the way. It's possible. And that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that I've went somewhere and it's always present and it's not. It just, I know how to get there. I don't know how to stay there. Man, I wish I could stay in love all day. I can't. I'm going to go to judgment soon. I'm going to go to resentment. I'm going to go to contempt. I'm going to go to anger. I just know how to, like, I know what I want. I know what the priority is. I want all those things out of the way. And it takes 20 minutes of meditation every day. It takes sitting still. It takes seeing people in a different way. It takes seeking understanding of their life. It takes a lot. It takes looking at the fact that I'm scared to look bad as a treatment provider. I'm scared for my reputation. I don't want people saying bad stuff about me on Facebook. I'm worried constantly about looking good. I'm worried constantly that I'm going to say something stupid here and then have everybody, and then I have to lay in bed all night and think about how stupid I am. And all that shit's in the way of love. How could I possibly love when I got to worry about all that shit? So it takes a massive amount of work just to breathe and breathe, you know, and I want to watch the game, and I want to watch both games, and that's 4 hours. So I'm not going to find love in that time. I got to yell at the people on the TV. They don't shoot very good unless I yell at them. But if I yell loud enough, those guys start shooting better out there. You see? So it's tough, and it's individual, and it's not. It says solution group. It's not about them. It's not about you guys here. It is, but it's about everyone. It's like a trick. I get you here because then I tell you the bad news. You know? But yeah, you can. If you get yourself out of the way, if you get your role out of the way, and if you just look, you might find and be available for love. We got another one?
I know we're actually at 8:30, so.
Oh, Angie?
Yeah.
I'm nervous, Tanner.
No, so Art's been talking about the menu. Is that right, Art? The cheeseburger experience
Yes.
and all that stuff. So me and the guys, we all pitched in and got you something. Would you please hold your hand out? We just got you something out. Yeah.
Okay. Put it in my hand.
There you go.
Put it there.
Right there, buddy.
There.
Okay.
There. Now put it in both hands.
Yeah.
Now put it to my mouth.
Yeah. That's about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That's
Travis
too small.
really likes that burger. He really likes whipping that burger out.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at we can only do one at a time, unfortunately.
So I think that I want to just say that drug addicts are lucky. We're the lucky ones. We got Sam Quinones coming on in a couple weeks, and he's a really good speaker and a really good writer, and he wrote beautifully about the opioid epidemic. And for years, I've been saying that this drug epidemic thing is the best thing that has ever happened to our country. And I want that known that I say that, because this is a war that these kids fought that is going to force them to find a new way of life. And it's going to force them, when they get clean, it'll force them to gain insight into who they are as human beings and stop being a reaction to the world, but actually being able to create in the world and actually being able to cultivate this experience that you're having in this house, cultivate it in your own life with your own families. And that's the teaching. That is to be here to learn, to pass this experience down that you're having here. This experience of talking things out with each other until there's no more talking. This experience of starting a conversation off very heated and very controversial and confronting each other, and then getting to the middle where you find an experience of connection and love, and then joking at the end and walking away from that. To cultivate that experience with people, to actually do the work of getting rid of yourself so you can get yourself out of the way, and seeing how judgmental we are as human beings. Seeing that we can't even like people, we can't let alone love them when they don't dress the way we like, when they don't operate the way we like, when they don't talk the way we like, when they don't have the same political opinions as us, and they don't have the same gun control opinions, and all of a sudden hatred shows up and all that stuff that's in the way. And so to really, really get people to do this work and understand it. Tanner, do you have a question before? Okay, Tanner has a quick question before I close, by the way. Yes.
How's that?
Good.
Okay, so I just have a quick question. So, is there a way, in your opinion, that you know, like that you could have like a little bit of a little bit of love, a moment of a little bit of love that's not as profound as what you're talking about, where you're not crying, but you're you know, like, because I've been estranged from my mom, you know, off and on. You know, we've had a lot of years estranged, completely sometimes. But when you came by the other day, and both times you've come by, I've had, you know, moments or sometime where I've really been happy that you're here. And I think that's love, you know, that's love for a parent. And, you know, I know there's room to improve there, of course, but, you know, I guess like I kind of see it as I take it where I can get it for now while I'm developing it,
Yeah.
you know?
That's right. That's right. It's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what initiates the work. It's getting back to that tiny, you know, getting that small internet connection. So then you can work on the power of it. And it is an experience, and it can happen for a second, a minute, 30 seconds, an hour, a day. It can happen, and it's fine. It's because it's happening. And it's one small hit, and it gets us to the next hit. And it forces each one of us to want to be more present with each other, to want to put our phones down more, to want to actually, and it forces each individual, it's a requirement that we each hold ourselves responsible for our own presence, for our own connection ability, to see what's in the way of our current connection with this moment, to look. And each person doing this work, that's the solution. That's the group we're talking about. That's everyone being involved in it and saying, hey, I can't, unless I'm down to the pure soul, me, I can't love you. I can't find it. Not that full experience. And so this is why we, you know, it took me a long time just to get to a point where I figured out this is what we were doing. It took me a long point to get past the idea that we're getting people's licenses back, and that we were getting people's jobs back, and that we were getting them back on the playing field that they already got destroyed on, but rather giving them a new way to experience life, a new way to actually feel different and experience people different and experience connection different again. And that means that you have to get the self out of the way. You have to get this problem that you have in you, and you have to see that it's you, and there's no external causes that's going to take it away. It's work. There is no external causes that's going to take away this self. It's not. It's still going to be there no matter what. You might feel different for a second when you go skydiving, but you're going to hit the ground and it's going to feel the same. You might feel great when you buy a new car, but you're going to hit the ground and it's still going to be there. But once you experience love and connection again, you're not going to want to give that up, and you're going to work your ass off to keep it in your life. And so this is the work, and we implore people to do it. And I really, really challenge everyone to admit to themselves, like I have, that I don't have enough of it. And once you admit that I don't have enough of it, and then you stop blaming the world, then you got to do the work. And it's that simple. I don't have enough of it. I want more of it. I must do the work. There's no other alternative. There's not. And if we're still in a place where we say, I don't have enough of it, I want more, and I'm blaming, yeah, that's the self manifesting. That's you being protected. That's you not doing the work. And so the work is tough, and that's what we're doing. And once again, I hope that clears up. And by the way, I'm just going to say it again. I don't know if there's unconditional love or not. I know that love's an experience in my eyes, and I want more of it.